Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shob. I'm in the greater Poonch area in an army post at an altitude of more than 10,000 feet. What I can tell you is that we are very close to Pakistani posts here, and several of the bunkers of the Indian Army that I can see are within 100 odd meters, if that, from the Pakistani posts, eyeball to eyeball, literally. Now, I can't show you the Indian Army posts, and I can't in this case show you the Pakistani Army posts which lie right next to them, because that would expose the location of our posts. But the features that you see behind me, all of these hill features here, that's all POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. And many attacks which the Indian Army carried out were carried out on targets on those features. We hit them hard with artillery, with shoulder-mounted missiles. There was mortar fire as well. Drones were used by both sides, and several specific targets were taken out. The goal over here is to prevent terrorists from coming in. These were terrorist launch pads, among other targets which were taken out. The firing during Op Sindoor, which remember is not over, was extremely intense. And posts like this of the Indian Army where I'm at came under intense fire, but they retaliated very heavily indeed. Senior officers over here tell us that they remain on a very high state of alert, that if there is any provocation from Pakistan, for example, a ceasefire violation, which we've seen even after Pakistan wanted the ceasefire, then the Indian Army will retaliate, and retaliate very hard. While a great deal has been said about the missile attacks that India did on Pakistan, the destruction of parts of their air bases, or the phenomenal air defense which we had up to prevent attacks from Pakistani drones and missiles, there is a lot else which has happened by way of action during Op Sindoor. There's been very heavy artillery shelling across the line of control. And I'm in a forward post at an altitude of more than 10,000 feet in the greater Poonch area. I'm joined now by a colonel who I unfortunately cannot name because we've got pretty strict rules of conduct at this stage, to give us a few ideas about the extent of shelling and what really took place. I think before we talk about the shelling, your goal and the goal of your men was to hit targets in POK, which lie just a close distance away, right?
Yeah. See, first of all, I want to assure you that the mistake which enemy did on the intervening night of 6th and 7th May, he has been punished in a manner that he will think at least 100 times before doing the same mistake. So that is what I want to confirm to you, and I want to assure you. And now coming on to the execution part of Op Sindoor, I would say that we are a professional army, and as a professional army, we are on training. We are carrying out training 24/7 and full year. So it is an ongoing procedure, ongoing activity. So, and we train 24/7 for the full year, keeping in mind that as and when we are given the task of executing a mission like Op Sindoor, so we should be able to execute it in the correct manner, the way it is supposed to be, and the way it is being asked for from our higher headquarters. So exactly on the same way, on the intervening night of 6th and 7th May, we just had 2 mortar bombs fired by the enemy onto this exact location where you are standing. And I assure you that within 3 minutes of we receiving the fire from the enemy, with pre-coordinated fire plan, pre-planned fire assault plan, we destroyed enemy's 13 posts.
13 posts?
13 posts in terms of bunkers, you can say. And I want to confirm to you once again the same thing, that the timing was just 3 minutes, and the training was of such high standard that every Jawan knew that on the word given by the commander and our higher headquarter, which weapon he has to fire, and for how much duration he has to fire, which post he has to fire. So that was the result, that we could inflict the maximum casualty onto the enemy. And also at the same time, it was the procurement of new generation equipment, weapons, surveillance devices, and the other highly technologically qualified and the highly technologically advanced weapon system, which was procured by us, and we could inflict the maximum casualty onto the enemy.
What was it like on those 2 or 3 days? Because there was very heavy shelling throughout. There would have been drones deployed in this area. There would have been incoming mortar rounds. Of course, you're well protected. You've got bunkers over here. Could you for the benefit of viewers across the country, give us a sense of how tense it was.
Yeah, I would say when we brought down our heavy volume of fire onto the enemy, once he had fired those 2 mortar bombs onto us, so definitely he is also an army.
Yeah.
And he also brought down heavy volume of fire. But then that is what I was trying to tell you, that our standard of training was of so much high standard. And also the defense preparedness which we were doing since last whatever duration we have got deployed here, that enemy could not inflict a single casualty onto our own soldiers.
Yeah.
And he could not even damage one of our bunker. And the videos we had shown to you, those are already being telecasted by many of the media channels, where we could destroy. There are so many bunkers in the post, and he could not destroy even one of our bunker. So that speaks.
And what he did was indiscriminate. He opened up on Poonch town, for example.
That was the
there were civilians who lost their lives.
Frustration when he opened up the heavy volume of fire and could not inflict any casualty, could not damage any bunker. So then, in his frustration, he started engaging our civilian area.
Yeah.
And as a response to it, as a revenge, I assure you that in the correct sense, the revenge was taken. And with our long-range vectors, with the coordination of artillery and our mortars, and the precision-guided missiles and the ammunitions, the enemy's location of gun locations and the mortar locations, those were identified pinpoint, and heavy volume of fire was brought on to the enemy, and then it was suppressed, and that was the punishment which we did. And as was told to you, that the number of casualties is still coming up. Our agencies are working on that. And the count I will not be able to tell you, because that is substantial. It's a substantial, I should say.
What I noticed in coming over here is that many of the forward posts, just forward of this particular post, lie in some cases just 100 odd meters away from Pakistani. So when one says eyeball to eyeball, you're not reading fiction.
That is
it's
actually
a fact.
Eyeball to eyeball.
It doesn't get any more real than that. What is the life of a soldier deployed 100 meters away in a bunker from a Pakistani post?
I would say that it is beyond imagination of any civilian counterpart. But then, yes, it is difficult, no doubt about it. And the post which was shown to you, it looks like that it's too easy to go and reach there. But you all must have climbed, and then you felt the difficulty level, what it was. And more so, it is not that the Jawan just has to reach from one post to another post. It is when he is moving, then his standard of training also comes into play, because the enemy is just on the lookout. If the soldier exposes himself just for a fraction of a second, he can be sniped. So that is the amount of difficulty level which the Jawan faces on a day-to-day basis.
Just one or two more questions. How does it feel like to be a colonel at a time like this, when you've spent your entire career training for something which possibly would never have come, but it did come? When you passed on the order to your men to open fire, did you have goosebumps? Did you have butterflies in your stomach? Or were you so focused that you just got the job done?
See, I would say I consider myself lucky, and the ops that I am part of Ops Sindoor, and which was executed with so much of precision and with so much of well thought of plan, and the results were actually too good. So I consider myself, yes, lucky. And then when I was passing the orders that this is the time wherein we need to show our standard of training, the standard of our defense preparedness, the new generation weapons, equipments, the surveillance devices which we have procured. So that this is the time now for these equipment to be tested. And actually, if you see the result which are there in front of us, those are beyond the words to explain, because results are speaking of themselves.
Drones is a reality that the Indian Armed Forces, the world's armed forces, will have to adjust to. We have drones, they had drones. But how intense was their drone threat in these areas? I mean, were they trying to survey you? Were they trying to hit you with drones? Because drones have all sorts of purposes.
See, there is no doubt, and I want to change that perception which everybody is having, that enemy sent so many drones, 300 of them, 400 of them. But then I want to change the perception that, okay, yes, enemy did send the drones, but what they could do? There is not even a single civilian house which has been damaged. There is not even a single bunker of our defenses which they could damage. So I'll consider them that they are just the toys. And then we have, I'll not disclose the location, we have our anti-aircraft guns, we have our AD guns.
In jammers also, soft
Jammers
kill.
also, MPCDS also. And just to confirm to you that we brought down many of the drones and the debris for us to collect. Now it is difficult for also to collect the debris.
Yeah.
So I would say I consider them as the toys.
Yeah. One final question to you. When you saw the situation was going to explode, literally, I mean, we knew what was going to happen possibly after Pahalgam, that India was going to do something. In fact, the government said that we will pick a date and time of our choosing and we will respond. How did your family react to knowing that, their husband or their father was right up above 10,000 feet over here and he was going to war? I mean, how do you deal with that?
The day we joined the army, so it is but natural that we don't share each and everything what we go through, because after all we are trained to go through this pressure. Definitely I'm not denying the fact that our family members, our wives and the children, they are also trained to handle this pressure, but then definitely not each and everything to be shared with the family. Right. And they are equally strong like we are. There is no doubt about it. Our family members, and it is the support of our family members back there that finally we are able to execute and we are able to perform the way we are supposed to do as a professional army.
Yeah. And the josh is very high among your men. They must be really enthused after what we achieved.
I would bring to your notice one thing, that the successful execution of Op Sindhu, there are various factors to it, that why we could do and why we could execute. Firstly is the high standard of our training, then high standard of professionalism, and high standard of our new generation weapons, equipments, our surveillance devices, and the technologically advanced other systems and other weapon systems. Last and but not the least, it was the Josh and Jazba of our Jawan, which you just brought out. That gave us and gave me also as a commanding officer that push, that okay, I can do it.
Right.
More than my confidence, I was getting confidence from my own boys. And one incident to quote with you, that after 3 days of heavy volume of exchange of fire between us and the enemy, and then when suddenly there was a ceasefire, so our Jawan, my Jawans, they were saying कि साहब इतनी जल्दी कैसे हो सकता है कि अभी तो दुश्मन को और पनिश करना है हमको. So that was the josh and jazba of my boys.
Colonel, wonderful speaking to you.
Thanks
very much. Well, there you have it, a colonel of the army in a high altitude post. We're in the greater Poonch area. We've got Pakistani posts all around. There was very intense fighting over here, and it's clear from what the colonel said that the Indian army hit enemy targets and hit them hard. Throughout the course of Op Sindoor, the role of artillery has been absolutely incredible and important for the Indian Armed Forces. Artillery had a huge role in taking out terrorist targets on the other side of the line of control and in other areas, the international border as well. There was an intense exchange of artillery fire throughout this particular area. To tell us a little bit about what the entire last couple of weeks have been like and the role of artillery, a young captain in the army. Unfortunately, as we've been saying, we can't identify him by name, otherwise we'll get into serious trouble. But be that as it may, thank you so much for speaking to us. In simple terms, why did artillery, or how did artillery play such an important role?
Okay, I would start by saying that Pahalgam attack was such a cowardice attack on our innocent civilians, and we, Indian Armed Forces, knows how to put these cowards into coffins. And this is Operation Sindoor is all about. Indian Armed Forces decided to launch a decisive operation against the terror infrastructure in the Pakistan. It followed with our intense preparation that started from April 22nd itself, and we as artillery gunners have started deploying ourselves in our operational area. We have prepared our defenses in a very short, quick time frame and then waited for the right moment. On April 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th, when the right time came and we received the orders, we hell broke an enemy. What happened? I'll tell you in very crisp words, that we have fired more than 600 rounds and have destroyed more than 20 enemy posts. And our fire was so accurate, so immaculate, so precise that It has damaged enemy men, material, and the morale itself.
But Captain, let me ask you this.
Okay.
You've trained so hard to become an officer in the Indian Army.
Yeah.
You put your sweat, your toil, all of it into that. When the order came for you to tell your team to open fire, what did it feel like?
It was absolutely an very amazing feeling for myself, because all this time I have only trained myself just for this particular day. And when the day arrived, I and with my team did all what we have learned in our peacetime and in our regimental headquarters location, and have successfully delivered what was asked from us.
Yeah. You know, I've covered the Indian Army for 30 years. And if there's one word which for me summarizes the Indian Army, it's teamwork. Can you tell me about your team?
Definitely. I would, to add upon, I would just like to say that we do what we do because we believe what we do is right. So, as far as my team is concerned, I have my JCOs under me, my NCOs under me, my Jawans under me, and also I would like to highlight that the new Agniveers which we have received, they are also full of josh, full of confidence, and they have taken responsibility on their hand. Being very new to this organization, they have delivered what we have asked for. Yeah. So I am very grateful for my team to do this successful mission with me and being a part of this Operation Sindoor, which we always wanted.
And there was counter-artillery fire coming from that side as well. And you guys were fighting back. Can you tell us what was happening, what you saw all around you?
So yeah, when we started firing onto the enemy was devastated. So he started counter. We cannot say enemy did not fire. Enemy did fire on us, but their fire was not effective. And once their fire was not effective and we were continuously firing on them, then they started targeting our civilians.
Yeah.
So once they have started targeting our civilians, we just hell broke on them.
Yeah.
We have fired whatever we had with all the josh so that we can keep them silent. And we did it, and we did it perfectly.
Yeah. Are you finally managing to get some sleep?
Yeah, finally. We are getting, and I'm trying to rotate my boys for this rest and recoup. And we are doing pretty well.
But you remain still on hair trigger alert whenever it's required, because Op Sindoor isn't over.
Yeah, Op Sindoor isn't over. We are still here. We are fully operationally ready. We are fully prepared. And if the enemy shows one more sign of aggressiveness, we will show what we are made of.
One final question on that team of yours. What does your team mean to you as a young captain?
Without my team, I am nothing. For me, anything which I want to deliver onto the ground, I need my team. Because I am there to motivate them, to give them orders. But on ground, which they have to execute, it is them, their effort, their hard work, which comes and finally shows us successful operations.
Captain, thank you so much for helping to defend us, and thank you to your team as well. Lovely speaking to you.
Same here.
Well, there you have it, a young captain of the Indian Army, artillery officer, telling us about the moment when he was told to fire and the impact that had on operations.